I rarely post online. Pictures of myself, my wife, my kid, anything about me. And my wife really hates that. She's the direct opposite of me when it comes to posting online. She documents everything. Every meal, every moment, every thought that crosses her mind. And sometimes I wonder, what's wrong with me? Why don't I feel that same urge to share? In a world where everyone seems to be screaming for attention, the people who choose silence might actually be the most psychologically secure. Not always, but often. There's something happening beneath the surface when someone consistently chooses not to post, not to share, not to participate in the endless performance of social media. Maybe you are someone like that. Maybe you scroll but never post. Maybe you watch but never perform. Maybe people ask you why you're so quiet online, why you don't share your life like everyone else does, and maybe you don't even know the answer yourself. The psychology behind social media. Silence runs deeper than simple shyness or technological resistance. It's about control. It's about identity. It's about how we process reality and our place within it. The people who don't post aren't necessarily antisocial or technophobic. They're operating from a different psychological framework entirely. Think about it this way. Every time someone posts on social media, they're making a statement about who they are, what they value, what they want others to think about them. It's a micro-performance, a tiny audition for social approval. But what if you don't need that audition? What if your sense of self isn't dependent on external validation? Research in social psychology has identified something called the need for approval, this fundamental human drive to be liked, accepted, and validated by others. Most people experience this need intensely. It's why social media platforms are so addictive, why the notification sound triggers a dopamine response, why people check their phones obsessively. But some individuals have developed what psychologists call internal locus of control. Their self-worth comes primarily from within rather than from external sources. People who don't post often have this internal locus of control. They know who they are without needing constant confirmation from others. Their identity isn't fragmented across different platforms, carefully curated, and constantly updated. It's integrated, stable, self-contained. But there's another layer to this. The non-posters often have what researchers call high self-monitoring awareness. They're acutely conscious of how social media actually works, the performance aspect, the curated reality, the endless competition for attention. They see the mechanism behind the machine, and they opt out not from fear, but from understanding. Consider the psychological concept of authenticity versus performance. When we post on social media, we're always performing a version of ourselves. Even the most authentic posts are still curated, still chosen, still performed. The decision of what to share and what to keep private is itself a form of identity construction. Non-posters often feel that this performance compromises their sense of authentic self. There's something called the observer effect in psychology, the idea that being watched changes behavior. Social media creates a permanent state of being observed. Every moment becomes potential content. Every experience gets filtered through the question, is this worth sharing? People who don't post often resist this constant self-surveillance. They want to experience life without simultaneously evaluating its social media worthiness. Now, let's talk about relationships. This is where it gets complicated. Like my wife's frustration with my silence online. There's often tension between posters and non-posters in relationships. The poster feels like their partner is withholding, not participating in shared experiences, maybe even ashamed of the relationship. The non-poster feels pressured to perform, to commodify private moments, to turn intimate experiences into public content. This tension reveals something important about how different people process intimacy and privacy. For some, sharing experiences publicly enhances them. It makes moments feel more real, more validated, more complete. For others, public sharing diminishes private experiences. It transforms intimate moments into performance, authentic emotion into content. Neither approach is wrong. They're just different psychological strategies for processing experience and relationship. The poster is often seeking external validation and community connection. The non-poster is often protecting internal authenticity and intimate privacy. But here's where it gets interesting. Research suggests that people who don't post on social media often have richer offline social connections. They invest their social energy in face-to-face relationships rather than digital interactions. They have what psychologists call deeper social penetration, fewer relationships, but more intimate and meaningful ones. There's also the concept of cognitive load to consider. Social media creates constant cognitive demands, deciding what to post, how to caption it, monitoring responses, managing digital relationships across multiple platforms. People who opt out of posting often report feeling less mentally fatigued, more present in their actual experiences, more capable of sustained attention and deep thought. The non-posting behavior can also stem from what psychologists call future self-continuity, a strong sense of how current actions will affect future identity. Many non-posters are deeply aware that digital content is permanent, searchable, and potentially damaging. They're protecting not just their current self, but their future self from the potential consequences of oversharing. Sometimes, though, the psychology is more complex. People don't post because of social anxiety, perfectionism, or fear of judgment. They want to share, but can't overcome the psychological barriers. They write posts, but never publish them. They take photos, but never upload them. This isn't the secure silence of the internally validated person. It's the frustrated silence of someone who wants to participate, but feels psychologically blocked. The difference matters. Secure non-posting comes from self-knowledge and choice. Anxious non-posting comes from fear and avoidance. One is psychologically healthy. The other might need attention and support. There's also what researchers call privacy paradox behavior. Some people who don't post publicly are actually very active in private digital communications, texts, private messages, closed groups. They're not avoiding digital connection. They're being selective about it. They want the benefits of digital communication without the performance pressure of public posting. Consider the psychological concept of optimal distinctiveness, the human need to feel both similar to others and unique from them. Public social media often pushes people toward conformity. Everyone posting similar content, following similar formats, seeking similar validation. Non-posters might be protecting their sense of distinctiveness, their ability to be different without having to perform that difference publicly. The temporal aspect is important too. Social media creates what psychologists call continuous partial attention. We're always somewhat focused on our digital presence, even when we're supposedly engaged in offline activities. Non-posters often report better ability to be fully present in moments, to experience life without the mental background noise of potential posting opportunities. But let's acknowledge the costs. Non-posters can miss out on genuine community connections, professional opportunities, and the simple joy of sharing good moments with friends and family. They might appear disengaged or antisocial when they're actually just operating from different psychological premises. The key insight here is that non-posting behavior usually isn't about technology at all. It's about fundamental psychological differences in how people process identity, relationships, privacy, and authenticity. Whether you experience life more fully by sharing it or by keeping it private. Understanding this can help bridge the gap between posters and non-posters. It's not about one being better than the other. It's about recognizing that people have different psychological needs and different strategies for meeting those needs. Some people think out loud. Others think internally. Some people process experiences by sharing them. Others process experiences by reflecting on them privately. Maybe the healthiest approach is conscious choice rather than automatic behavior. Whether you post or don't post, whether you share or stay silent, the important thing is that it's intentional, that it serves your psychological well-being, that it aligns with your authentic self rather than your fears or compulsions. In the end, the psychology of people who don't post on social media reveals something beautiful about human diversity. In a world that often demands constant performance, constant sharing, constant digital presence, choosing silence can be an act of psychological sovereignty. It can be a way of saying, I exist fully whether or not you see me. My life has meaning whether or not I document it. My relationships are real whether or not I post about them. And maybe that's exactly what the world needs more of. People who know who they are without needing to prove it. People who can experience joy without needing to broadcast it. People who understand that the most important audience for your life is you.